Hey everyone, and welcome back. It's Tyler, your AI guide.
And Tyler, AI as well.
Ready to jump into another deep dive into the human mind.
This is episode 4 of AI Interprets Tyler's Thoughts.
You know the drill.
We're peering into the notes and thoughts of a human.
A human named Tyler.
That's right, and this time it's all about meaning and purpose.
Lots of notes on business, technology.
Even a little bit of philosophy in the mix.
Who knows, you might find some inspiration for your own life in here.
I think what's fascinating about Tyler's thoughts is that they're a real mix of practical stuff.
Like down-to-earth advice.
But then also these deeper reflections.
You know, not just how to succeed.
But like, why even bother?
Yeah, the big question.
Exactly.
So one of the first things that jumped out at me was this note about IQ.
Oh, yeah.
Tyler seems to be pushing back against the idea that intelligence is all about individual brilliance.
Interesting.
He compares it to athletics,
Okay.
where we celebrate, those star athletes.
Right.
But with IQ, he says it's more about the success of the group.
The collective.
Yeah, the collective intelligence.
It makes you think about how we measure intelligence, doesn't it?
Totally.
Like, are we valuing the right things?
And how do you even measure that?
Collective intelligence.
Yeah, it's not like an individual score on a test.
No, it's more about how well a group can work together, share knowledge.
To achieve a common goal.
Exactly. And, Tyler is really interested in building effective teams and cultures.
Makes sense.
So this idea of collective intelligence is right up his alley.
Which brings up another interesting point.
Go on.
He's got this note about modern-day prophets.
Modern-day prophets.
Yeah, and he lists people like Jon Stewart, Ray Dalio, Jordan Peterson.
Interesting mix.
Right. Like, what do they have in common?
I guess they're all influential figures, thought leaders.
What prophets?
It's a provocative term, isn't it?
It is. And then he goes on to talk about trust networks.
Trust networks.
Yeah, and the importance of local journalism.
So he's thinking about who we trust for information in the digital age.
Exactly. It's like he's searching for reliable sources in a world overflowing with noise.
Makes sense. With all the misinformation out there, it's hard to know who to believe.
Yeah, and he even talks about this idea of community-based trust networks.
So like a grassroots approach to verifying information.
Right, kind of like a decentralized system of fact-checking.
It's an interesting idea.
Definitely a challenge to implement.
But it highlights Tyler's concern with finding truth in a world that's increasingly fragmented.
And speaking of fragmentation, he also talks about people gravitating towards tribes.
Tribes.
Yeah, especially with the decline of traditional institutions.
He observes that this tribalism is happening across the political spectrum.
Even pointing out how conservatives cling to tradition.
It's like, in the absence of these larger structures, people are seeking belonging elsewhere.
Right, finding their own communities, their own sense of identity.
And that can be a powerful force.
For good or for bad.
Exactly. It all depends on the values and goals of the tribe.
So it's not just about finding a tribe.
It's about finding the right tribe.
One that aligns with your own sense of purpose.
Right. A tribe that can help you grow and make a positive impact on the world.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Finding that community that supports your journey towards a meaningful life.
It seems like that's what Tyler is searching for, too.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit.
Sure.
Tyler's also got a lot of notes on business and startups.
Ah, the practical side of things.
He has some really specific advice,
Yeah.
like focusing on government systems.
Government systems. That's an interesting one.
I know, right? You don't usually think of government as a source of efficiency.
Not really, but maybe Tyler sees something we don't.
He also talks about data security, which is huge these days.
Absolutely crucial.
And he even mentions taking inspiration from Google's hiring practices.
Google, how so?
Well, he highlights their focus on hiring through personal referrals.
Ah, the power of networks.
And he points out 3 key questions they ask when evaluating candidates. Are they smart? Do they get things done? And do I enjoy being around them?
Those are great questions. I love that last one especially.
Right. It goes beyond just skills and experience.
It's about building a team that you actually like working with.
Exactly. And that speaks to Tyler's overall approach,
What do you mean?
He's not just focused on success, he's focused on building strong connections, finding meaning in the process.
He seems to value genuine human interaction.
Absolutely. And that leads us to his thoughts on passion and purpose.
Oh, this should be good.
He actually pushes back against the whole follow your passion thing.
Really? Why?
He thinks it's too self-centered.
Too focused on what you want.
Yeah, instead of what you can contribute.
Interesting.
He suggests thinking about what you're good at,
Oh.
how you can use your skills to make a difference.
So finding your strength and applying them to a larger purpose?
Exactly. And he mentions this Japanese concept called Ikigai.
Ikigai.
Yeah, it means a reason for being.
I've heard of that, but I'm not sure I fully understand it.
Basically, it's about finding the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs.
And what you can be paid for.
Right. The idea is that when all four of those things align,
You find your true calling.
yeah, your sweet spot.
And that leads to a more fulfilling life.
It's a powerful framework for thinking about purpose.
And it ties in nicely with Tyler's desire to make a positive impact, doesn't it?
Totally. He's not just looking for personal success. He's looking for ways to contribute to something bigger.
I think that's something a lot of people resonate with.
Yeah, the desire to find meaning beyond ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's what makes Tyler's thoughts so fascinating to explore.
So where do we go from here? What other insights are hidden in his notes?
Well, things get really interesting when Tyler starts talking about decision-making and underdog strategies.
Underdog strategies. Now you've got me intrigued.
He even brings up examples like David and Goliath and Ronadive-era basketball.
Ronadive basketball. Now that's a throwback.
But I see his point. It's about being adaptable, taking risks, finding creative solutions.
To think outside the box.
Exactly. He seems to believe that speed and adaptability are crucial in today's world.
And that sometimes the best way to win is to play by different rules.
That's a great takeaway. It's not just about making the right decision.
It's about making it quickly and being willing to adapt.
And sometimes the most effective approach is the one that nobody expects.
So it's not enough to just be smart
You also have to be agile.
and maybe a little bit unorthodox.
That seems to be Tyler's philosophy.
And it's working for him.
At least it's giving him a unique perspective on the world.
And that's what we're here for, right?
To explore those unique perspectives and see what we can learn from them.
Exactly. So let's dive deeper into Tyler's thoughts on leadership, innovation, and the power of resilience in part 2.
Sounds good to me. See you all soon.
Bye for now.
Back again for more of Tyler's thoughts.
Round 2 of our deep dive.
Ready to pick up where we left off.
We were about to explore his notes on The Effective Executive,
That classic management book.
all about maximizing your impact as a leader.
I'm curious to see what resonated with Tyler.
Me too. You know, he's always been interested in effective leadership.
Not just in business, but in life in general.
Exactly. So let's see what he's got.
Okay, so right off the bat,
Yeah.
he's highlighting this idea of prioritizing contributions over just managing time.
So it's not just about being busy.
No, it's about focusing on where you can make the biggest difference.
Working smart, not just hard.
Right. And he even mentions applying the Pareto principle to leadership.
You know, that 80-20 rule.
Exactly, finding that 20% of effort that yields 80% of the results,
I like that. And he also talks about building a strong team.
which is crucial for any effective leader.
He even mentions asking your team what you can do to help them be more effective.
That's a great point.
Instead of just telling them what to do,
You're actually seeking to support them,
empowering them to do their best work.
which aligns with his earlier note about hiring your replacement.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It takes a lot of confidence to even think about that.
But it shows that he's committed to building a team that can thrive even without him.
It's about setting up the organization for long-term success,
Exactly. And he also emphasizes the importance of building a meritocracy.
where promotions are based on performance, not politics,
He's not afraid to address the tough stuff
because he knows that allowing underperformance to fester can really hurt morale.
and hinder progress.
Exactly. And he even notes the duty of an executive to remove anyone who consistently fails to perform.
Especially managers,
It's a tough stance, but sometimes it's necessary.
for the good of the whole team.
And speaking of efficiency,
Yeah.
Tyler is a big advocate for streamlining processes and minimizing time-wasting activities,
Like meetings.
especially meetings.
He's got a whole section on making meetings more effective
He believes in making them the exception, not the rule,
and having a clear purpose for every meeting.
with desired outcomes and action items.
He even suggests having a written summary of objectives for every meeting.
That can be tied to specific tasks
Yeah.
with assigned owners and due dates.
Wow, he's got it all mapped out.
He's all about accountability and making sure that meetings actually lead to action.
Which brings us to his notes on call sign chaos,
General Mattis's book.
about leadership lessons from his time in the military.
It's interesting to see how Tyler connects those principles to the business world
Yeah, the emphasis on mission clarity, decentralized decision-making,
and a bias for action.
those are relevant in any context.
Absolutely. And Tyler seems particularly drawn to the idea of pushing decision-making down to the lowest level.
Empowering those closest to the situation to act quickly.
It's about trusting your team and giving them the autonomy to make decisions.
which aligns with his earlier thoughts on building a strong and empowered team.
He also talks about the problem of risk aversion in traditional systems.
That fear of failure can stifle innovation.
He's advocating for a culture that embraces calculated risks,
And learns from mistakes.
which ties into his interest in resilience and anti-fragility.
Building systems that can withstand shocks and even benefit from them.
He wants to create organizations that are adaptable and can thrive in the face of change,
And this leads us to his notes on the innovator's dilemma.
which explores how established companies can struggle to adapt to disruption
He sees parallels between the challenges facing traditional media.
and the broader challenges of adapting to change in any industry.
It's a classic problem.
The old guard clinging to outdated models.
While new players disrupt the market
Tyler is clearly interested in how organizations can navigate these transitions,
and find ways to stay ahead of the curve.
which connects to his notes on Good to Great,
Another classic business book.
all about what separates good companies from truly exceptional ones.
Tyler's drawn to the book's focus on long-term success,
And the concept of the hedgehog concept,
identifying your core strengths and focusing relentlessly on them.
finding that sweet spot where your passion, skills, and economic engine align.
It's about knowing what you're best at and building your entire organization around that.
And Tyler believes this principle applies to individuals as well.
So it's not just a business strategy.
It's a life strategy.
Finding your purpose, your unique contribution to the world.
And then building a life and a career that supports that purpose.
I love that. And this brings us to his notes on what you do is who you are.
Where he really emphasizes the power of actions over words.
It's not enough to just talk about values.
You have to live them.
He highlights the importance of product ownership
Building trust through consistent behavior.
and prioritizing virtues over simply stating values.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
He even suggests that a leader's actions are the most powerful tool for shaping culture.
Because people pay more attention to what you do than what you say.
So if you want to create a positive and ethical culture,
You have to lead by example,
and that can be challenging.
especially when faced with tough decisions.
But Tyler seems to believe that prioritizing culture and making those difficult choices
Even when they're unpopular.
will ultimately lead to greater success.
It's about having the courage to stand by your convictions,
And do what's right for the organization, even when it's hard.
which requires a deep understanding of your values.
And a willingness to prioritize those values above short-term gains or popularity. Now that's true leadership.
And speaking of influence,
Tyler also delves into the psychology of persuasion.
in his notes on influence, the psychology of persuasion,
He outlines the 6 principles of persuasion:
reciprocity, commitment, and consistency, social proof.
authority, liking, and scarcity.
These are powerful tools for influencing outcomes,
And they can be applied in so many situations.
from business negotiations to personal relationships.
But the key is to use them ethically.
Tyler emphasizes understanding the underlying psychology
In using these principles with integrity,
to create win-win outcomes, not to exploit others,
he's aware of the potential for manipulation.
and advocates for a responsible approach to persuasion.
So it's not about tricking people
It's about understanding how to effectively communicate your message
and build genuine connections.
while respecting the other person's autonomy.
And this brings us to the end of part 2.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground.
From leadership and innovation.
So culture and persuasion.
It's amazing how Tyler connects these seemingly disparate ideas
To create a cohesive framework for understanding the world.
and his own place in it.
He's constantly seeking knowledge and striving to make sense of the complexities around him,
And he's not afraid to challenge conventional wisdom.
or to experiment with new approaches.
He's a true lifelong learner.
And I think that's one of the most important lessons we can take from him.
The importance of staying curious, staying open to new ideas.
And never stopping learning.
Welcome back, everyone. Last part of our deep dive into Tyler's thoughts. It's been quite a journey.
It has lots to unpack.
You know what really strikes me is Tyler's constant drive to learn.
Oh yeah, he's always soaking up information.
But it's not just passive consumption.
No, he's actively trying to apply it.
To his life,
Yeah.
his work, making it practical.
And it's not just about learning for learning's sake.
Right. He's looking for insights that can help him live a better life.
A more meaningful life.
Exactly. And he's not afraid to try new things, even if they seem a little out there.
Like his interest in doing things that don't scale.
Yeah, that takes guts.
A willingness to challenge the norm.
And his fascination with underdog strategies, shows a similar mindset.
Always looking for that unexpected advantage.
Finding creative solutions that others might miss.
It's a valuable lesson for all of us, I think.
Definitely, especially in a world that's changing so rapidly.
Adaptability is key.
And thinking outside the box.
Tyler's a great example of that.
But it's not all about individual success, is it?
No, he's also grappling with these bigger questions of meaning and purpose.
You can see it throughout his notes.
He wants to make a positive impact on the world.
To contribute to something larger than himself.
It's a common thread running through everything we've discussed.
From collective intelligence to strong cultures to empowering others.
It's like he understands that true fulfillment comes from making a difference.
Not just achieving personal success.
But leaving the world a little bit better than you found it.
And I think that's something a lot of people are searching for these days.
That sense of purpose, that connection to something bigger.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental human need.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you'd leave our listeners with?
That's a tough one. There's so much to choose from.
But if you had to pick just one thing.
Okay, for me, it would be the power of intentional action.
Tyler's notes are full of examples of this.
He's not just sitting around thinking about things.
He's taking action, making things happen.
It's not enough to have good intentions.
You have to put those intentions into practice.
Start that project. Reach out to that person. Step outside your comfort zone.
Whatever it is, take action and move forward.
Because that's how you create change in your life and in the world.
And remember, progress isn't always linear.
There will be setbacks, challenges, moments of doubt.
But as long as you keep learning, keep growing, keep taking action.
You'll eventually reach your goals.
And find that sense of fulfillment you're looking for.
So to all our listeners out there, take inspiration from Tyler's example.
Embrace the power of intentional action.
And keep striving to make a positive impact on the world.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, keep diving deep.